Yo, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to a new video on F1 22 on my channel. And today, this is the first setup guide, this is the first hot lap track guide whatsoever, including of course a quicker setup than base setup, and I'm gonna talk you through it. And then we are also gonna have a track guide, like a slowed down lap, where we are just talking about what you have to do. And then we are also gonna check out how a lap looks if you really nail it, or if you're sending it like at full speed, so you can see how that looks. So let's get right into it and already check out the setup. So first of all, we have here on Silverstone at 126.271. Oops, that's the wrong button. And we're gonna load my setup. So what we're gonna run today is 16-18 wings. The reason for that is it stabilizes the car a bit more, but you still have enough rotation. It's actually a bit slower in the straight line than the average than the increased top speed setup. But I feel like you make up so much time in the corners and have so much more confidence on this setup that it's just better, especially if you're inexperienced on the game and you want to get used to something a bit more easier and then build confidence on that, which has more or less the same pace, even quicker because of the cornering speed. But in terms of straight line speed, it's a tiny bit slower, not much. You will see that also in the hot lap. On the transmission, we can run it pretty low this year. 55 and 55 is what we are running, just to make sure we have enough rotation, but also we don't make any unnecessary wheel spins when we are on the throttle, especially accelerating out of corners, because that can happen quite quickly. 55 on throttle. If it's too low, you will get a wheel spin. If it's too high, you will get understeer. We don't want either of that, so this is a nice balance. If you feel like you're still struggling on the throttle, put it to 60. And with the off throttle, we put it to 55 just to not go too extreme. It will also, under braking and when lifting, just make sure your car rotates a bit more than it usually would. On the suspension geometry, we are running right, left, similar to last year's style. It still works. I think it might not be the final OP setting on the suspension geometry. It might change in this game, but it still is quick, so that's why we are running it right here on this track. The suspension, it looks pretty basic, and that's also what it is, because it just should give you a first indication what is working in this game. So we have everything fairly balanced. These cars, with the porpoising and everything in real life, of course we don't have that in the game, but you still want to set up your car quite balanced. Everything should more or less be quite smooth. And the physics get changed, the wings, the ride height, everything is working a bit different than the last few years, so we just went a little bit more stiff on the rear suspension to enable us getting that little bit more of an edge from the rear than from the front. Same on the anti-roll bar. You don't want to run it too soft, but you don't want to run it too high, just to make sure the car doesn't get any roll, but also it's not gonna affect you negatively in any way. And with the right hand, we also went with a pretty balanced way. It's 3-3. You can try around with that. I think 3-3 is just a good base on Silverstone to make sure you don't bottom out at any given moment, especially during the corners, because you can do that. If you go too low, you will feel the car bottoming out and you will lose lap time, lose downforce. This is a big thing this year. So you can go higher, but also going too high will then, in the end, reduce the amount of downforce you get. You want to get the car as low as possible before making it bottom out the whole time. If it bottoms out a couple of times, like just at the end, it's not even that bad, but you want to make sure there's some kind of window and that the car can produce as much downforce as possible. Don't go too high, don't go too low. This is a good base. On the brakes, we run 150. This is going to be a thing for every single track this year. And on the tires, I didn't change anything. This is literally stock tire settings. And I also think this year we will not see any max, min max or stuff like that. I think the setups this year will be far more balanced. I mean, you can see we are balanced here. We are balanced on the suspension. We don't have big gaps between front and rear wing. The only reason why we have 2 clicks is just to make sure we have a little bit more grip from the rear axle than the front axle, because it will make traction a bit more enjoyable, even though it will be a little bit more understeer. I think most of you would prefer it that way rather than going the opposite direction or having a bit more balance. If you go 16-16, you would immediately feel, okay, the rear is kicking out. You can try it out yourself. Go 16-16, you will see you will probably struggle in a couple of corners with going on the power. With 16-18, you don't really have that. 16-17 is already tricky, so 16-16 I assume is way more difficult. But this is the setting. I think this is also a good base. If you want to run it in my team, you can probably save it and then adjust it from track to track. Just have it as a baseline. Go a bit higher on a couple of tracks, but always aim for a similar kind of setting, and you will already have a quicker car than stock setting, I promise you. And yeah, but let's get into the track guide. Alright, so Silverstone, here we are. It is one of my favorite circuits, if not my most favorite on the game. So what you want to do to prepare a lap in Silverstone, you want to line up your car as much as you can to the left here, then short shift into 4th and 5th to be early on the power, open up the steering wheel, use all the track and accelerate, and then you will get a good exit for the straight. The next corner, you want to position your car a little bit on the curb, not too much, because then you will have to turn too much, so a little bit, then full throttle, flat out, a little bit of turn in, and you want to cut the inside a tiny bit, but be careful of track limits. Then here a later turn and get close to the curb to stay to the inside, saves you lap time, and then you brake around when the curb starts. But be careful, this here on this curb and on this curb you can actually lock up and spin out, so you want to be careful on braking on there. If you really don't have any confidence there, just brake close to the white line. But yeah, then you're using 4th gear or 3rd gear with a short shift into 4th on the exit, lining up the car as much as you can to the right, not completely, because first of all you don't see the corner, and second of all it's just not worth it. But you want to go as far as you can to the right to make sure you get as much momentum down the straight. If you go on the power, you go for a late turn in, close to the inside, don't touch the sausage curb, and open the steering wheel while accelerating, then using all the track on the exit. This curb this year is also a bit more sketchy, but with this setup you can probably run it better than with any other setup. So you can accelerate on that. Well, not from like no speed at all. And then you take this corner flat, open the DRS. And we are already at the end of the Wellington straight. Sector 1 is done. Now preparing for the next corner. Brake on the curb here. At the 50 you start braking and turning in. You miss the first part of the curb. Go into 4th gear. Short shift into 5th before the curb. Get close to the inside, accelerate out of it. Then line up the car as diagonal as you can. Clip the curb on the inside a bit. You will slowly drift a bit wider. You shift down into 3rd gear and then quick short shift into 5th and get close to the curb, accelerate, open the steering wheel, use all the track on the exit. Now you're also cutting on the inside here on the old start finish straight, old pit lane. Now on this game so far I haven't had a single setup where you could take this corner flat with these cars. Maybe it will change in the future. I don't know if there will be another handling patch which will fix that, but I don't think so. So this year, just around here, you use the 50 as a reference when you go full speed. You keep it in 7th, or you shift down in 7th, you lift a tiny bit around 75 to 80%, and then you go full throttle before you get close to the curb here. You want to line up as much as you can to the inside. Run a bit wide, but not too close, and if you can avoid the exit curb, do it, because it will cost you time. Then you line up the car here on the right. You shift back up into 8th gear. Then early turn in just when you hit the sausage curb, because that will make sure you don't cut. Like, you will be close to cutting, but you won't cut, and it will just open up the left-hander here better. So you take this in 8th gear, then you lift a bit and slow braking, a quick little tap on the brakes. Also cut as much as you can here, 7th gear, and then early turning. You think you have to turn in later, but the later you turn in, the more likely it will be that you will just drift too wide. If you get an early apex, like way too early apex, you will usually understeer a bit on the exit, but you will still lose less time than when you go for a super late corner turn in, and then you will just run wide. Because you will not make the apex and you will just sacrifice speed and momentum. So you take this in 6th gear if you really struggle, 5th gear and 6th before you hit the curb. And then full throttle from here. Use all the curb on the exit and stay as tight as you can. And now on the hangar straight, we're looking for the 50-meter board and curb start for braking and turning. You can downshift into 5th and then quick into 6th, or you stay in 6th and you want to hug this inside curb. It can spin you, but if you get used to it, it will be faster. If you use it to rotate the car, then you can be early on the power and you will less likely run wide and slow and not get an off track. So for the final braking zone, you want to brake hard just after the 100-meter board when the curbs start roughly. I usually take it in 4th, but you can also go in 3rd. If you go in 3rd, as soon as you get close to that inside curb, shift into 4th, and then also shift into 5th for this corner and use the throttle to rotate the car around. And this will make sure you will get a good run for the final few corners and gain as much time as possible. And this is exactly what you need to do to master Silverstone over 1 lap. And if you want to master that over a full race distance, then you will just have to be a bit more patient and calm yourself down, because sometimes going slower is faster. But let's see how a quick lap around Silverstone looks like. Guys, I will leave you now with the footage. Just pay attention to what I've said and how I'm applying it on track, and also do that in your hot laps, in your driving, and you will definitely improve. If you like this video, please also give it a thumbs up. It would help me out a lot, and also smash that subscribe button if you want to see more F1 22 exclusive, well, exclusive not anymore, but exclusive Kiefer F1 22 gameplay. Alright, let's just leave it like that. Alright, I will see you in the next video. Take care everyone, and thanks for the support. Until next time, your Marcel. Peace.